Alright, what's up everybody? We're back with another edition of Everyday Hoops. Hope you guys are having a good one. Today's video, I guess you could put it into another edition of Everyday Evals. Been doing this a lot more lately. Today's video, I'm going to be talking about Zion Williamson because he has been playing amazing recently. And he might be back. The old Zion that we know from a few years ago, all this stuff, might be back. And we're going to go into that here in today's video. Thank you guys for the views on the videos and the shorts recently. I really appreciate it. If you enjoy the content around here, consider subscribing, like, turn notifications, all stuff like that. I'd really appreciate it. Really upset a lot. Look to my Twitter, TikTok, description down below. Join the membership. And yeah, don't waste any more of your time. Let's get right into it. So Zion has been playing some amazing basketball. Of course, we talk about most of the season, the first couple months of the season. And while yes, the stats they look solid, you know, so you still average about 22 points per game. He's still looking decent. It just watching him on the court and watching his presence and watching what he does, it didn't feel like the same Zion that we're used to seeing. You know, of course, injuries have been a big part of his career. He's missed entire seasons and stuff because of injuries. And, you know, we were kind of like, wow, is that really weighing on him? Is that going to take away what we think Zion could be? You know? Because we all know what Zion really can be. He can be a monster on the court. He can be dominant. But just the injuries have been a big part of that. And also, of course, a lot has been talking about his weight and how much in shape he is. And that's been a discussion also throughout his entire career. How much does he really care? You know, is he eating too much? What is, you know, what is physically he look like? You know, he looked out of shape in the first part of the season. All this stuff has been talked about with Zion, not even just this season, but the past couple years. But this year, he was actually playing. He was on the court. He hasn't missed that many games, you know, so he's been playing. He's been active in there. But it just hasn't felt like the same Zion. It feels like he doesn't have the same oomph, the same kind of just like energy, the same aggressiveness, dominance that he's used to having, you know. But the Pelicans have been starting to play better, and Zion has started to unlock himself, and Zion might be back to the old Zion that we're used to seeing, you know. Looking in the month of March specifically, the stats don't look any much different from the rest of the season. He's averaging 23, 7, and 4 with a steal and a block, shooting 63% from the field, 76% from the free throw line. Now, it's also because he's had 2 games in March where he's had single-digit points, but in both those games, they won by over 20 points, so he didn't really need to do much there. But he's had some big games this year, not even just in this stretch, but honestly, even if you look since February started, you know, in February, he has some big games. Well, since February started, he's averaging 23, 6, and 5 with a block, shooting 58% from the field, 75% from the free throw line. He's had a lot more 30-point games as of recently. Looking in the month of March, though, he's had some really good games. He had a game against the Raptors where he had 16, 8, and 9. They won by 41. Next game against Philly, 23, 12, and 4. 2 steals, 3 blocks, and 7 for 14 shooting. It was 9 for 9 from the free throw line, which is big, and they won by 8. Game against Atlanta, 27, 6, and 7 on 10 for 14 shooting. They won by 13. He had a game where he had 33 and 9 against the Cavs. They lost by 21 in that game, though. Then next game against the Clippers, 34, 7, and 4, 3 steals on 14 for 21 shooting. They won a big win against Clippers by 8. That was a big game. That was really the game that was like, dang, is Zion really back? And then since then, against Portland, 26 and 10 on 11 for 17 shooting. Against Brooklyn, 28, 7, and 4 on 11 for 16 shooting. Both wins, by the way. Then he had a game he had 20 and 7 against the Magic. They lost by 15. He had 8 turnovers. Then a game against Miami. The other day he had only 4 points, but they won by 23. And then yesterday against the Pistons, 36, 7, and 6 on 13 for 14 shooting. He only missed one shot from the field, and he had 36, and they won. Now I understand it was against the Detroit Pistons, but still Zion has been looking a lot more dominant as of recently. And one of the things for that is that he's playing point Zion is back. You know, or if you remember, maybe a couple years ago when Stan Van Gundy was the coach of the Pelicans, they were running kind of like a point Zion type of thing, where Zion was the main ball handler, he was kind of the point guard in the way, and he was making all the decisions for the team. You know, whether it's driving, kicking him out, doing all the stuff like that, he was doing it, and it actually looked solid. You know, but it was just like with the team around him and stuff, it's like what's that gonna go? And now this year they're kind of bringing it back. You know, Willie Green is bringing that back, and it's been super effective. And you're just seeing kind of the evolution of Zion. You watch him on the court as the main ball handler on this, and he looks a lot more confident and a lot more smarter. He looks like a better basketball player. He's had multiple games with double digits, especially he's had 3 games this year with double digit assists. You know, he's had so many games where I mean, look at in March, his assists. He's at 7, 9, 4, 7. Then he had 1. Then he had 4, 3, 4, 2, 4, 6. You know, he had a game against Chicago last month. He had 11 assists. Game against the Clippers, he had 10 assists, 9 assists here, 7 assists here. You know, he's playing a lot more confident, and you can see the decision making of him. You know, he's kind of understanding and learning more, being like, okay, I'm gonna drive. I'm so dominant on the drive that they're gonna have to send two to me, and that's when I get an easy kick out to Jose Alvarado or Jose Murphy or Herb Jones in the corner for three or on the wing. You know, he's just, if you watch him play as the lead ball handler, especially with the bench unit, mainly with the bench unit with him, Alvarado, Trey Murphy, Najee Marshall, maybe Larry Nance or Valanciunas or whatever in there. You know, he plays a lot more of the main ball handler and the pick and roll guy, and you know, guy making all the decisions, and it's been working. If you look at the plus minuses and stuff, I talked about this when I made a Pelicans video, I think last month when they were really hot. Like, the best plus minus lineups on the court for the Pelicans are when Zion is with the bench. When Zion is with the bench, that is one of the better lineups they have on the court because Zion has been the lead ball handler and he's been the main guy, you know, and he's so dominant, and he's finally, I think, starting to learn, like, dang, I'm so dominant getting into the paint and shooting that they're gonna have to send two or three at me. They have to commit. Two or three people have to kind of come and commit to me, and so when that happens, you know how many people I got? I got Trey Murphy the third in the corner, who's a sniper that can go off and hit 10 threes. I got Herb Jones is now a 40% three-point shooter. I got Najee Marshall and Jose Alvarado who can occasionally knock down a three or two. Even if Jordan Hawkins is in the game, you know, Jordan Hawkins is an elite shooter. You know, I have CJ McCollum sometimes on the court with me. CJ McCollum, we know he's a 20-point scorer nightly, you know, so like he's kind of understanding that, and it's helping the Pelicans a lot more, you know. And not even just his passing. His passing also has been a great thing, obviously. But just he has that umph again. He has that aggressiveness and that dominance again. It just looks like he's motivated. It looks like he's more comfortable out there getting to the court. Because realistically, if you think of Zion, especially when he came out of Duke into the draft and all that stuff, and when he had that season, his second year he averaged 27 points per game and all that stuff, it was like Zion is one of those guys that you're really not going to be able to stop fully because of his size and his athleticism. That mix that is so rare. It's like, how are you really going to be able to stop him? Because most of the time, Zion's going to be able to overpower anybody you put on him. And even if it's like a forward on him, most of the time, like 99% of the time, Zion's going to be able to just move that forward out of the way and get to the basket with his strength, you know? And then say you put a big 7-footer with him, Zion's going to out-jump him. Zion's going to just dunk on him and out-jump him. You know, the athleticism and the strength he has, also the touch. I think that's one really underrated thing about Zion's game. He has great touch around him. Like, he makes a lot of layups that I'm like, whoa. Like, he should not have made that. But he makes a lot of, like, really tough layups, like, off the glass and in. He has really good touch around the rim as well. That's a really underrated part of his game, too. Add all that in together, like, Zion's supposed to be one of those guys that you're not going to be able to stop. You just hope he has an off night or hope to contain him somehow. You know, or maybe send him to the free throw line. But now, he's starting to hit his free throws. He's becoming, like, the last month, he's shooting, like, 75% from the free throw line. So, if that starts to work, then, you know, if he becomes a pretty decent free throw shooter, not saying he has to be 90%, but you could be a 75, 78% free throw shooter, then it's like, man, how do we really stop him from scoring 28, 30 points a night, you know? And so now, you use that to your advantage, kind of like what Devin Booker done. Well, I love what Devin Booker has done now, and a lot of other people do, but Devin Booker specifically because it's one of the first ones that popped in my head, especially recently, where Devin Booker, we know he can go off for 28, 30 points a night, 40 points. He could do that, but now he's using that to his advantage because now he's like, so many people are going to be committed and worried about me scoring, that's going to open up everyone else, and he's become a really good facilitator, you know, and kind of point guard. He's averaging career high assists. And Zion's kind of doing that same thing in his own different way, where it's like, I'm so dominant getting to the rim and getting to the basket that they're going to have to send two at me. So now that means, here you go, Trey Murphy, easy three-pointer. Here you go, CJ McCollum, easy three-pointer. Here you go, Valanciunas, easy dump-off. Here you go, Larry Nance, easy lob. Here you go, CJ McCollum. Here you go, Brandon Ingram. You know, just like, it's just going to be so easy, you know, and that just opens up so much more for this Pelicans team. And the Pelicans team has been playing really, really, really good recently, you know. In the month of March, they've only lost 2 games. They're 9-2 in March so far, you know? And they've jumped all the way up to the 5th seed and honestly are right behind the LA Clippers. They're only half game behind the Clippers for the number 4 spot, and they have the tiebreaker over the Clippers. So Pelicans could really be going into the playoff series with home court advantage, You know, they've been dominant. You know, not even on offense, but defensively as well, which is also something I've seen with Zion. He's taking defense a lot more seriously. He's becoming a better defender. You know, but also the Pelicans as a team has just been really good defensively. But the way Zion has been playing recently, you know, not even just in March, but the last maybe month and a half, I want to say, has just been so key, and it's just so nice to see Zion back. This Zion back. You know, the dominant Zion that you're like, yeah, this dude is a star. That type of Zion back in the league and just dominating, you know, and balling. And just, it's just really, really nice to see that, obviously. And now, if he keeps this up, if he keeps his confidence going for the rest of the year and into the playoffs, man, Pelicans are going to be a dangerous team. Pelicans are going to be definitely a team that, you know, you can't take lightly at all. You know, now of course you do have the Brandon Ingram injury that happened a couple of days ago. Thankfully, it wasn't anything super serious. It was just a bone bruise, out for 2 weeks. You know, but it definitely looked like, if you saw the injury, it looked like you thought it was gonna be a lot worse. But thankfully, it wasn't. He'll be back eventually. And now add in, you know, this full Pelicans team together with CJ McCollum, with Trey Murphy, with Herb Jones, with Jonas Valanciunas. You know, it's just, this is gonna be a very, very tough team to stop. Especially again, if Zion Williamson is playing like the Zion Williamson we're seeing right now, and the dominant Zion Williamson, you know, that can go off and get you 28, 30 points. Like, this is going to be a very dangerous team. But I'm just super happy to see Zion back in this form. And we're going to see how long, we're going to see if he keeps going. You know, if he keeps being motivated and if he can bring this Pelicans team to great heights. But yeah, it's going to be it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, enjoyed the content around here. Consider subscribing, like, turn notifications, all stuff like that. Really appreciate it. Really helps out a lot. And yeah, subscribe, join the membership, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.